The college baseball experience, World Series picks, and conference baseball futures on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
What's up, everybody? You're watching SGPN. Fuck the Cowboys. Let's go, baby.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college baseball experience. College World Series preview picks, baseball futures, golden spikes. We're covering it all. YouTube.com/the college experience. Jump on over there. You can watch this show if you're listening to this on the audio side, and vice versa. If you're watching the show, make sure you subscribe, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. The seasons, we're here. This is February 12th. We are right around the corner from the season. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing.
Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
I'm looking at the slate for Friday, and it's just like, good Lord. Got games just the whole fucking day. It's beautiful. Saturday. Oh, let me look at the slate. Oh, the whole day. Sunday. Oh, the whole day. Season is here, folks. This is a sport that keeps growing and growing and growing. So you want to be early to it. Get on over here. Maybe you're a basketball fan, football fan, checking us out. You're going to want to dive into this stuff because this sport is fantastic. I am joined by my co-host, kind of the heartbeat of this show over the years. Also, the guy behind the scenes on the college basketball and college football experience. Give it up for the great Noah Bieniek. How are you, brother?
What's going on, Colby? So excited. Yes, like you mentioned, the season is nearing. I waited to the last minute, but flight booked, stay booked, heading down to Arlington for opening weekend to see 9 college baseball games with some of the 6 really good teams. Excited for a jam-packed weekend, what should be. But yeah, I figured this show was great last year. It just allowed us to get a lot of our takes out there on one specific show. That way everybody, if they don't want to listen to a 2.5-hour episode on the conference preview, they can hear kind of the teams that we really, really like this year in our Omaha 8. We're also going to give out some of our favorite futures when it comes to conference outrights this season. And then I know Johnny loves the Golden Spikes market. We've got some of those there. We do have win totals that have come out. They're not conference win totals, which is what Johnny and I were looking for. And honestly, I have no idea what we're walking into when we're trying to handicap the entire season. So I have no action over there. But speaking of action, I have to get in all of my Friday plays because I'm heading down to Texas where betting is not legalized, and I have no idea if I'm going to have any other action for the entire week. So
hilarious. Can't place a wager. You can buy an AK-47. We are joined by third man in the booth. Look, I mean, if you haven't checked out his work, he's the host of the Breaking Bet podcast. He's also covered, he's been a former betting analyst at NBC Sports. Give it up for the great Johnny V. How are you, brother? Good to see you again. I hope you're feeling better.
Oh yeah, it was really bad last week. The flu absolutely took me out. Just getting back with it. But dude, I saw the lines out for Friday, and you know what? My heart skipped a beat. Just can't even begin to understand the level of excitement that I'm feeling right now that we can finally bet on college baseball games for Friday opening day. And not only that, but they're up so early. I wasn't expecting it until hopefully tomorrow night, but we're getting them on Wednesday night, which is even better. It's fantastic, dude. I got some golden spikes wisdom to impart onto you. So let's get after it.
Yeah, and I think this. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the fact this is a good sign. We're seeing it this early. These lines are out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I do remember them
it's
out
not good.
earlier.
It's not good. It's great.
Yeah. It just shows the to me that the proof that the sport is continuing to grow and grow. So great that we have them here on a Wednesday. And remember, tomorrow night we will be back with our picks show for the individual games. So make sure you check us out tomorrow night as well. Even though Bieniek will be he'll be down in Texas.
I'll either be live from an airport because it got snowed in. Apparently, there's a snowmageddon coming early
in Texas.
No,
or here
in Michigan.
Okay.
So who knows what that's going to be like? But hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be in Globe Life for the show and live streaming from inside the building.
There you go, man. Get some Spurs, get some cowboy boots. Let's go.
I want a cowboy hat.
There we go. Get the works. All right. I want to see with the big belt buckle, tucked in shirt. Let's go.
I don't wear jeans too much, but yeah, I got to get a belt buckle.
Make it happen, buddy. Make it happen. So we just dive right into like the fact that we have odds to make the College World Series, and I think we should just start there. Bieniek, everything we're looking at here, just so the audience knows.
Yeah.
We're going to play all on Bet Rivers, or I know there's stuff everywhere.
There's a couple mixed around. Yeah. I went shopping around for my best price. So I guess I can kind of go first and kind of show you guys, I guess, how we can roll through this. We did SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12 previews. Go check those out if you're looking for our specific team analysis. Johnny wasn't on the Big 10, so if he has a Big 10 team that he's really high on, he can go in depth on those. But for my Omaha 8, I kind of get nerdy about it and filling out my preseason Omaha 8 picks. I don't really choose my top 8 teams in the preseason. I think there's a little bit of a puzzle piece to it geographically. This year I picked my 5 favorite teams, which in no order are Texas A&M. Best price out there right now is 900 plus 900 at FanDuel. Arkansas, which is 15-1 at FanDuel. I really like that price. LSU's plus 900 at FanDuel. Virginia is 12-1 on both FanDuel and DraftKings. And North Carolina, I really like this price too, 28-1 to win it all at FanDuel. So those 5, I felt really comfortable just putting those in pen into my Omaha 8. The 2 teams that are on the national radar, but not a lot of people are as high as me on. The first one that I'm planting my flag on is Stanford. I talked about this during the ACC preview. I'm super high on this pitching staff that returned everybody. Matt Scott, Christian Lim, Joey Volchko, even their closer, Torin O'Haron. And they added the Japanese sensation, Rintaro Sasaki. I think he's going to hit nothing but bombs. The offense, I'm hoping to take a step up. And I think there's plenty of value on Stanford, 10-1 to make it to Omaha over at DraftKings or MGM. The big one here for me, though, is the Arizona Wildcats. They're my favorite price this preseason to win the national championship just 2 days before opening day here. They are 120-1 to win it all on FanDuel. The Wildcats are plus 550 to make it to Omaha. So if you want to hear why I'm so high on Arizona, I encourage you to check out the Big 12 preview. But that I'm a believer in that pitching lab, and they return 7 starters from that lineup a season ago. They had a top 25 ERA as a staff. They reloaded in the transfer portal, in my opinion. So I think Colin McKinney is going to do all right as the Friday night starter, and there is plenty of depth in the position player group. My 8th team, I noticed that there was a noticeable geographical hole in my Omaha 8. I didn't have a team from the Sunshine State. I'm not super high on my Gators pitching staff this year. The Seminoles have a bit more unproven production at the highest level in their lineup than I'd like if I was going to pick them to get to Omaha. I like UCF in the Big 12 this season. We'll get to that in a little bit. They have, I think, the best rotation in that conference. The offense is a little lacking, but they do get Andrew Sundin back. But I'm not going with the Knights either. My 8th Omaha team does hail from the state of Florida, and they had the second most players playing in the Cape Cod League this summer or last summer, only behind Vanderbilt. The Stetson Hatters. They are 66-1 to make an appearance in Omaha. We haven't previewed the Hatters in our preseason content, so here's a quick overview for everybody. They lose only 2 guys from last year's lineup. Kyle Jones, who was the ASUN freshman of the year, he transferred to the Gators, and then Logan Hughes jumped ship to Texas Tech. But the Hatters returned the entire infield from last year, their top 2 home run hitters, and Lorenzo Miola, who's the son of Tony Miola, who is the former Team USA goalie, and this is also the brother of Oklahoma State's Aiden Miola. He was a big-time player for them, the Hatters, last season. And then Johan Desereau. Those 2 guys are huge for the lineup here. Stetson head coach Trimper completed his trade with the Gators by bringing in outfielder Landon Russell, who's also a 2-way guy. Russell has speed and pop in his bat that could land him in the leadoff spot for the Hatters. And Chipola, JUCO transfer via Florida State, Jordan Taylor is going to challenge the other 2 outfielders, returning Jaden Hilton and Evan Griffiths for at-bats, which adds to their depth, including other NC State and Wake Forest transfers in the position player group. In the rotation, though, James Hayes is a Georgia transfer who can pump mid-90s fastballs. They also bring back 5th-year senior Jonathan Gonzalez, who missed all of last spring due to an elbow injury, but during the summer, he was a Cape Cod League All-Star. He has a filthy changeup and was excellent in the 2023 season. Then you have Ethan Phillips, an Indiana transfer, returning back to his home state, expected to be their Game 3 starter. Plus, you got other high major transfer guys, Turner Spoljaric from Oregon, who had a solid year in 2023, looking to bounce back after a bad 2024. And then you have Dylan Jacobs, who began his career at Florida State, plus Zane Coppersmith, Stetson's closer last year, returns after slicing and dicing his way to a 1.82 ERA in 29.2 innings there. The pitching staff has so much talent for a mid-major program. Like I said, they sent 14 players to the Cape Cod League last summer. There's a lot of returning production in this lineup, and they helped me kind of fill a geographical hole in my Omaha 8. So, yeah, that's my predictions there to get to the College World Series.
Love it. And love the mid-major rank there of the Stetson Hatters on a play.
Gotta get a little cute, man.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna hear you gotta have it's worth a sprinkle on a little home run shot here. Johnny, how about yourself, man?
To make Omaha, let's start with to make Omaha. Listen, I think a lot of people that are looking at their list for teams to make the College World Series, there's going to be a lot of crossover and a lot of the same teams that make it, and that's just how it happens. Based on the research that I've done, I've come to the conclusion that this list is my favorite 8, but I have other teams that are outside of that 8 that I think could sneak in there if a few things go their way, and I'll touch upon those as well. Texas A&M, obviously, LSU, Tennessee. Tennessee's one is in my tier 1. I don't know if the roster is as good as it was last year or even a few years ago, but this team brought in Andrew Fisher from Ole Miss, Liam Doyle from Ole Miss, Gavin Killam from Louisville. They have other guys that are expected to take a big step forward, like Dean Curley. Hunter Ensley was a big part of their success last year. So I think Tennessee, with Tony V at the helm, could end up coming back to Omaha again. UVA is part of my tier 1. UNC, I think UNC is very live in the ACC this year, and we talked about this during their ACC. I think their roster's really good. Scott Forbes did a great job replacing the entire outfield that he lost last year. He's got Jason DeCaro coming back with another year under his belt. Georgia Bulldogs, I think Georgia, and they were 4-1. Now they're 3-1, but I feel like UGA, even though they lose Charlie Connon and Corey Collins, overall as a team, as a lineup, they might be deeper. Now their pitching is also more well-rounded. They're expecting more from Colton Smith, Leighton Finley. Alton Davis was a stud pickup from Alabama, even though he had a bad year last year. 2 years ago, this is looking like one of the premier closers in college baseball, and the bullpen is a department where Georgia severely struggled last year. So I think this is a time where Georgia is going to be capable of taking that next step this year. So I think them getting into Omaha is definitely possible. Texas Longhorns, Texas, I know there's been a lot of, they're moving to the SEC, so it's going to be tougher. The SEC is a bigger conference this year. It's a very difficult conference. But you know what? Jim Schlossnagle has the pedigree. He knows what it takes to make a deep run. Not only that, we know the offense that they have. They have studs like Max Bailu, Jalen Flores, Will Gasparino, etc. But he brings over Max Wiener from Texas A&M, one of the biggest up-and-coming pitching coaches. And Texas went out and ransacked the transfer portal and got a lot of talent in the portal. Jared Spencer, potentially or most likely the Friday night guy from Indiana State, is going to be their Friday guy. So there's a lot of talent there. I think Texas is going to be able to make a big run this year, even in their first year in the SEC. The last team that I have coming in is Clemson. Noah would remember this. I wasn't that high on Clemson last year. I felt like the roster had a lot of holes, even though they're a good team. I just didn't think that they would have enough juice to not only win it all, but even make it.
We're trading places this year, Johnny.
Yeah, we're trading places. This year I like Clemson. I think even though Clemson lost some talent, everybody that came back is a year better. Cam Canarell is fully healthy. This is his draft year. Yeah. I feel like we're going to see a big year from Cam Canarell. Aiden Knock is one of the best pitchers in the country. He's going to be a top five pitcher off the board next summer. There's guys returning. Purify.
Purify is coming back.
Oh, Andrew Chufo. Andrew Chufo was hurt last year. He's coming back. There's a bunch of guys Eric Bakich was able to go get both on the mound and at the plate. So I think even though Clemson's not getting the amount of love this year that they were last year and 2 years ago, the Tigers are going to be a team that's going to be able to make a lot of noise. So I think rounding those teams in as the top 8 is where I will go. I think you've heard me say in the Big 12 preview that Arizona State's a team I'm high on. Honestly, both Arizona and Arizona State. The reason why I like ASU a little bit more than U of A this year is because I don't know if U of A is going to get away with two complete back-to-back seasons of having to go into the transfer portal and redo the entire weekend rotation. I don't know if I'm as high on the weekend rotation this year as it was last year. I think last year they struck gold where they had one of the deepest rotations in all of college baseball. This year, I think they're going to be very good. But ASU, confuse these two fucking teams. ASU has Ben Jacobs, a legitimate Friday night guy, a guy who could be a first rounder this summer, a guy who has ridiculous strikeout stuff, over 100 Ks last year. So I think ASU at plus 650 is an interesting team that could be one of those like 9th or 10th or 11th teams that has a shot to make a run at Omaha this year. I think UCF is another one of those teams that we talked about in the Big 12 that could be a potential Omaha team. Their pitching is talented. Their weekend rotation is good. They have some arms that aren't really very popular, but they're unsung. Their offense could be very decent. So give me UCF as well. 18-1 is worth a sprinkle for a long shot team. In terms of teams to win it all, Texas A&M, LSU, UVA comprise my tier 1. I think those are the teams, even though Virginia 12-1 is the best, it is what it is. I'm betting the team over the number right now. Texas A&M 9-1, LSU also 9-1. I mean, if you were paying attention to this a couple months ago, you would have noticed A&M was 11-1, LSU had a 12-1, UVA was like 25-1. I also think if you're looking to dabble, Georgia at 30-1 on DraftKings is interesting. Other teams like Clemson and Texas in the mid 20s, low 30s, I'd probably wait and see. So for right now, the UVA, LSU, Texas A&M is probably where I would put that early money down because the truth is, as much as I love the long shots and the mid majors, one thing we've come to learn is they really usually don't happen. Every year it's an SEC team.
Roberts, 2023. Don't count them out.
Yeah, I mean they made it, but even
they
if
they won some games too.
Yeah, but if you put a ticket on them, there's not really a way to monetize it. It's difficult.
You were on the Golden Eagles too that year.
I had a ticket on Oral Roberts to win it all, just at like 150-1 to take a flyer. But in terms of winning it all, there's no way to really monetize it until they get to the finals. So that's why listen, if you want to take a shot as we get closer to the season, then fine. But, for me, I loved Dallas Baptist last year, but a mid-major that falls apart as soon as they get to the regionals. Or Oklahoma State. It's pretty much these SEC teams or maybe the top ACC teams that have a legitimate shot to win it that's worth putting money on, at least right now.
I was going to ask that, like how Bieniek, I was paying attention, but how many ACC and SEC teams did you have in?
So I have 3 SEC, 2 ACC. No, Stanford's ACC now this year. So 3 SEC, 3 ACC, Arizona, and Stetson. My hot take there is that one of those West Coast teams, I think one of them has a very good shot to get there, and at least one, maybe 2 Pac-12 teams get to Omaha this year because Oregon's got a really good squad. I'm nervous about them regular season, but I think they've got a better chance to get to Omaha than they do winning the Big Ten.
Yeah, 6 of 8 you have. What was your numbers on that on the ACC, SEC, Johnny?
It was pretty much all SEC except for Clemson, UVA, and UNC. So I think it's 5 and 3. 5 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe 1 or 2 spots be one of like a Big 12 team or a mid-major. Listen, part of me wanted to do it, but based on the likelihood that it doesn't usually happen, it's something that maybe later in the year, depending when I get a more of a sample size, then I'd be more willing to take a shot. Listen, Dallas Baptist is going to be a great team again.
Yeah, answer Wags.
But it's all about what happens when they actually get to June.
And the regional, man. Like, you're possibly going to be in the same pool as a Texas A&M who's fucking loaded, a Jim Schlossnagle-led Texas team, or you could be sent into the Middle America SEC teams that they have been in the past as well. So it's really tough for DBU to, just locationally to get to Omaha.
But I think you have a valid point by saying they're gonna want some West Coast representation.
Well, it's not they're gonna want. The way that the NCAA bracket, the tournament is set up, is the West. I don't know how to say this correctly, but it's just a little bit weaker than the East. Yeah. So that's where I like to target bigger shots, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense.
The team I'm curious about, because they're playing an independent schedule, is Oregon State. How it works for them, and I'm talking about logistically from a committee standpoint. how do they view them not having a conference schedule this year? Like, how much differently do they weight it? Is Oregon State like Oregon State doesn't have necessarily a gimme of a schedule. They still play some tough teams, but like because they don't belong to the Pac-12 or any other conference anymore, listen, like is the committee going to sit there and say, well, they still played somewhat of a decent schedule, so we're still going to be inclined to maybe give them a tiebreaker to be a regional host come time for June, or they didn't play in a conference, so it's between them and a different team for maybe to get that 8th spot to be a national seed. Noah, maybe you have some ideas on how that's going to go, but that's something that's kind of been, sticking out to me.
I don't know. I really wanted to get to an Oregon State team preview. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do it. I'm not as high on the Beavs this season. I think it's a perfect year to not be in a conference. I think the schedule, albeit it's not a cakewalk, there's a lot of road trips in there. I think it's going to help them, and it's going to keep them afloat in that 1-2 seed conversation. And it all depends on the draw, because I like the pitching staff and I like some of the pieces in the lineup, but overall I think they just lack a little bit of star power that Oregon State always has. I'm not like insanely high on Avar Arquette offensively. So yeah, those are a little bit of thoughts on Oregon State from me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I asked the question because it seems so dominant from the ACC and SEC rank. So when I was doing this exercise, I came up with 2 outside of that. So I guess I'm responsible for 6 in my Omaha 8 predictions.
You're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, Clemson, UNC, A&M, Texas, LSU, Arkansas, and the 2 outsiders I had were the Oregon Ducks, and of course, since no one wants to talk about them, I mean. I know you think I'm a homer, Bieniek, but I feel like we're in a good spot. I'm referring to the East Carolina Pirates. That's always the best year for it. I know we're a little dinged up with the pitching staff right now, but Dixon Williams is a stud, and he's gonna be lighting things up for us this year. Riley Johnson also, and Colby Wallace. This ECU team is loaded, and I think the pitching might be better than what some people think. We need the transfers to play off. Right. Yeah. Brett. Well, we were dinged up a little bit, but Brad Pruitt. Yeah, Brad Pruitt and Brett Anilick, I think, are 2 guys to keep an eye on besides Jake Hunter. So ECU is my long shot. Yeah. Shouldn't be a long shot. They
returned Connor Norby and Jennings, true freshman. He's actually early enrollee in that rotation. Dangerous.
Yeah. 17-year-old, full 17-year-old action.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for a Pirates baseball team preview, though. We have enough time for that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I kept kind of the same thing. I was trying to convince myself of like, is there any way you could put 2 Big 10 teams in? Is there any way you could put 2 Big 12 teams in? And I just couldn't get there. I mean, what's more likely, the Big 12, right?
I don't know. I really like Nebraska this year. I had 2 Big 10 teams in my Power 16 for the preseason. During the year, that's just going to be my predicted bracketology 16 hosts. I like Nebraska a lot. I think both of them have 2 real contenders: Oklahoma State and Arizona, in my opinion, and Nebraska, Oregon. But UCF the Big 12, I think, has more solid programs than the Big 10. UCF, Arizona State, TCU, all capable of making a run to Omaha, in my opinion. So I would say it's probably more likely Big 12.
And Johnny, I mean, he's a Big 10. Noah's a Big 10 lover, so you can give us a more honest answer here. You're going Big 12 there, and that out of the 2, what would you be more surprised at?
I'd probably be more surprised if a Big 10 team makes it. Listen, Oregon was a team that I've spoken to a couple people, and I've listened to a couple podcasts where it's like, well, their team is they're a good team. Oregon's a good team. I think they always somehow surprise us every year where their team is this close to making it to Omaha. I mean, you look at 2 years ago, the Oral Roberts thing. Oral Roberts just fought and clawed and found a way to allow Oregon to completely unravel in the late going in the Super Regionals. That's what propelled them to go to Omaha. And then last year, they took out a UC Santa Barbara team that was favored to win the region. Like Santa Barbara, every year we do this with them where it's like, well, they can pitch. They have studs on the mound. They have a couple guys at bat. They're the sleeper out west. Like we do this every year with them. But Oregon was the one that beat them. And listen, Oregon ran into a buzzsaw at Texas A&M in the Super Regional, so be it. But, we do this with the Ducks where their team is pretty good and they end up getting a solid path and they're the best in a weakish path. But, Oregon's lost so much the last 2 years. I just don't know if they have enough. But I'm also not ready to write them in as the Big Ten champion. No, even though I missed the Big Ten show, we talked about this. I like Nebraska out of the Big Ten. I think Nebraska's got a very good chance to win the Big Ten conference regular season. I think USC could be interesting. I think Penn State could be interesting. So, you want to jump to them right now? I know you picked Nebraska to win it. You want to do conference futures because I got Nebraska.
Hang on 1 second
to win the Big Ten.
Let's do the conference futures. But before I do that, I want to let you know the college baseball experience is brought to you. Well, we are part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And look, football may be over, but NASCAR is back this weekend. So start your engines. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona to sign up today for their free Daytona 500 contest to be entered to win $100 of cold hard cash plus a $100 SGPN gift card plus some random bonus prizes. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona to sign up today. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, or casino. If only they had this 20 years ago when I was at the racetrack. I hit Pimlico with my uncle and he wasn't allowed in. It would have been all different. It would have been all different. But look, plus you can earn up to $750 per month on your cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And your money is safe as the card is FDIC insured. And the best part is no credit checks. It's completely free. Sign up today. Use that promo code SGPN so you get better cashback rewards and instant tier 2 status. That's edgeboost.bet promo code SGPN. That's edgeboost.bet promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. Yes, MyBookie is your place to bet every single sport. Plus there's props for every game and the live dealer casinos, a bundle of fun. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations, even outside of the States. So check it out. Easy deposit, lightning fast payouts using crypto. Head over to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code TCESGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, they're going to give you a little $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back on the college baseball experience, and yes, now we're going to take a look at our favorite conference outright futures. Heading into the season here, Bieniek, what conference should we start with? Should we start with the most dominant, or should we start with perhaps some of the weaker?
I would say I don't have bets for every conference, so I was hoping to just kind of run through, what we've got. I'll give out one, then Johnny can do one, then you can do one, and we'll go until we run out or whatever. My favorite conference future this season is in the ACC preview, I talked about it. I don't think that this team can actually pull it off, but I'm going to get sucked in because the price is disrespectful. Stanford's 35-1 to win the ACC over on DraftKings right now. Bet Rivers was the odds that we were using for that show, and I believe they were 15-1 if I remember correctly, and that's more where I would put them. This is crazy to me. That returns their entire weekend rotation, all of their bullpen, like I mentioned, for the Omaha 8. They are a team that I think is College World Series caliber. Why would I not take 35-1 on Stanford to win the ACC? I think the travel is going to be a bitch, but this price is disrespectful. So that's my favorite future. Johnny, hit us with one.
All right. I gave it out. I gave it out when it first opened a few weeks ago. But if I'm going to go by what it is now, I like a 2-unit play on Texas A&M to win the SEC, as well as LSU to win the SEC. So I took both of those teams 2 units each to win the SEC regular season because I feel strongly that one of them is going to win. I think Tennessee is going to be pretty good, but they shouldn't be 4-1. I know a lot of people like Arkansas. Arkansas' schedule is relatively easy, but you know what, man? Like, even though their pitching is so good, I need to see their hitting to believe it. I don't know if I buy their hitting. You know, everybody thinks that they're improved to a point where now they're a legitimate national title contender. You know, listen, I was on Arkansas last year and it bit me in the ass. So I'm not on Arkansas this year. I do respect the fact that they can pitch. You know, that's what they do. Florida, I think Florida's in for a down year. Georgia 13-1 is appealing. Texas, I probably don't think Texas is going to win the SEC. And all these other teams are appealing, but I think it's going to come down between Texas A&M and LSU. And then you have Georgia at 13-1, which is a little bit too big, in my opinion.
I'm dodging the SEC. I think there are a lot of good teams. I don't think there's really many favorable schedules to where you get an edge on the conference outright. So I don't have any action in the Southeastern Conference. Colby, what's your favorite conference feature here?
Yeah, and by the way, I do like the A&M play as well. But I don't want to be copying some of the ones you guys. Some of these have been on my list, but I'm going to take you to the Big 12 then, since we haven't talked about that one yet for conference futures. The Arizona Wildcats are plus 550. Now we need the pitching to pay off. They're brought in a slew of transfers at the pitching spot, or 4 or 5 transfers coming in. They need to pay off, but a lot of the bats are back, and that to me is enough as they enter in this. And I actually think there's an advantage to being, the team that you're new to the conference. So to me, it's not Stanford's travel either. You're new to the conference, which I actually think can be a little bit of an advantage for Chip Hale. So I went with the Arizona Wildcats with all that returning production at the bats at plus 550.
Love it. Yeah, I'm co-signing that one, and I'll raise you in the Big 12 as well. 20-1, the UCF very, very, very Golden Knights over on Bet Rivers. I have them to win the Big 12. Talking about schedules, and I like to dissect them and handicap them, and I think UCF has a very favorable schedule. This travel is also insane, just like Stanford. I am totally aware of it, and that might be why I think the prices got some value. But I think this is the best weekend rotation in the Big 12. And like I mentioned, Andrew Sundin, their best offensive player, is beginning the season healthy, which is so big for UCF. So I like the Knights to be a player in the Big 12 along with Arizona. As like I mentioned on the Big 12 preview, Oklahoma State's year in, year out, one of the top dogs to always win this conference. They've only done it twice in Josh Holliday's 11 years. And they just always find a way to fuck it up. I don't know how else to put it. So I like that Cowboys team, but I think there's value looking elsewhere in this conference. Johnny?
Should I do another one or a different one?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we both like the UCF. Did anybody do the Big Ten?
Not yet.
All right. Nebraska, because I didn't get to really talk about them.
Yes, sir.
Nebraska was a team that I gave out on my Twitter a few weeks ago when the numbers first dropped on Bet Rivers. I think the Big Ten being such a big conference and there's so many new teams, it kind of throws the wrinkle into it. But Oregon has done nothing to deserve 2-1 or less, even money or less, in terms of being a favorite for the Big Ten. I think Oregon's a solid team. I just don't know if their roster is as talented as it was in years past. I feel like Nebraska, a top 25 team that, yes, they did lose Brett Sears. That's a big loss. But they had Mason McConaughey. They have a couple other big-time pitchers that
they returned 4 starters.
What?
They returned 4 guys that started games last year.
They're expected to have a pretty good pitching rotation along with it. And pitching is going to play in this Big Ten conference. So I think Nebraska, a team who I got at 8-1, anything 5-1 or bigger is where I would take a shot on Nebraska. And also, not for nothing, Penn State is worth a sprinkle. There's long shots on Penn State. There's a 55-1 on DK. I don't understand why there's so much disrespect on the Nittany Lions.
Yeah.
They have an absolute star in Bryce Molinaro. Ryan Weingarten is also a big contributor for them as well. I know this is a big conference, but listen, I have Penn State as a top 5 team in this conference.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're being viewed odds-wise as a bottom 5 team. I think there's a legitimate chance that the Penn State Nittany Lions could be a player. They're live in this conference. So you're getting them at 55-1, definitely worth a sprinkle. I like them in Nebraska. USC, Indiana are teams I'm interested in, but I probably wouldn't bet them over Nebraska.
Yeah, USC lacks the offense. Indiana lacks a little bit of proven pitching. Colby, going to you. What do you have?
And look, I'm going to go to the AAC ranks because I watch way too much of this conference since my East Carolina Pirates. Look, ECU is a bit dinged up already, and that's never a good sign. So if you're not going to there's no value in taking ECU to me right now as a team that's minus 200 with a couple of question marks with injuries. So I'm looking elsewhere out there. And to me, the 2 things that jump up to me was either UTSA or Wichita State, but I'm going to go with Wichita with Jaden Gustafsson back as one of the top players in the whole AAC. I think, Wichita underachieved a year ago. Can they bounce back? Especially knowing that ECU's got some injuries. I know that Tulane's projected to be, I think, ahead of Wichita and maybe even UTSA as well. But I'll take a chance on the Shockers. They return a good amount of pitching production. So plus 750. Am I a bozo, Bieniek?
No, I think Wichita State is in my top 3 in the conference. I have an AAC future, but it wasn't Wichita State. By the way, Owen Washburn, a name to look out for on the Shockers this year. He's a Texas Tech transfer. The team that I'm jumping in on in this American, because I do think there is some value to be had against the brand name program that might have a down year that is already dealing with some pitching injuries. The Tulane Green Wave, plus 600 to win the AAC. This is a squad that has been really feisty come the back end of the season. They've won 2 straight American Athletic Conference tournaments here under Jay Ullman. He, I think, has the ship headed in the right direction. They return a lot of production from that lineup, and also on the bump, they returned 6 of their most used pitchers by innings last season. So I think the Green Wave are very live to get the job done in the AAC with the door cracked open a little bit. ECU is very talented still. I want to put this out there. I'm not doubting them, but them being minus money right now with 3 pitching injuries that are all, I think, were expected to be competing for starting jobs, Tulane's got a shot. And I'm going to jump in on the Green Wave.
I don't know how many conferences we're going here.
Well, that was my last one. I mean, however many you got, just rattle them off.
You know what? I want this more as a discussion because this is always an interesting conference. Is the Big West? Okay. The Big West has some legit players. You got UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara. I think Hawaii is a very
Hawaii is interesting.
Hawaii's an interesting team. Listen, honestly, to me, it's one of the coolest things ever. How teams travel to Hawaii to go play baseball. Hawaii plays baseball in Hawaii. They have a lot of times they have a big travel advantage because it is a far ride for some of these teams.
They have one of the cooler stadiums too.
Well, the body clock, on the timing, yeah.
The Rainbow Warriors. So I'm actually interested in hearing what you have to say. I mean, listen, I think UC Irvine is a favorite for a reason. Even though they lose Caden Kendall and they lose Nick Pinto, their two best players from last year. You return two star pitchers in Ricky Ojeda and Brandon Liu. You have Anthony Martinez, who's a big Anthony Martinez is their big power bat, and this is their best hitter. He comes back. So even though you lose Caden Kendall, you still have him. There's a lot of guys returning from this team, a lot of talent. So obviously it makes sense why they're the favorite. UC Santa Barbara, I'm not crazy about their team. Obviously you have Bremner, but you lose some pitchers from last year. The pitching is still good, but they were never really known as an offensively star power team. I think for the price though, Hawaii in the 5-to-1+ range is probably worth a shot, right?
Hawaii is very interesting. My pick, gun to my head, would be UC Irvine. But yeah, Hawaii's got a shit ton of power pitchers, like mid-90s arms all up and down that pitching staff there. And Itsuki Takamoto was the pitcher of the year in the Cape Cod League this summer. So that's a name to watch on the pitching staff there. I always loved the Bows. My cousin was a cheerleader dancer there, so I have a soft spot for
Hawaii.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for the Rainbow Warriors, but I would have them third behind Barbara and Irvine. Anteaters, I think, win it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm fast. The Big West is kind of a very slept on conference to me when it comes to college baseball. But yeah, and one other one I just wanted to note was I kind of like Clemson's value. I know I got burned on this a season ago, but Clemson in the ACC is plus 700. I still think they're going to be fine. Like they'll be a contender to me. Maybe a little step back, but I think there's still some value in the Clemson Tigers in the ACC. You guys didn't mention them, right?
No.
Okay.
Johnny, do you have any left that you wanted to mention? Because okay, I had one fringe one. If we wanted to go one more round, we can, but
it's fine.
I don't feel too strongly on it. So, Colby, you want to hit the second ad before we finish this out?
Yeah.
Folks, next.
Yeah, Golden Spikes Awards next, or futures. Folks, want to tell you the college baseball experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, we got everything over there. I mean, jump on over there. Obviously, the NFL just ended. But they'll have UFL, CFL, college hoops, NHL, NBA, whatever sport you can think of. Daytona, NASCAR. You know, Underdog Fantasy. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE. SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI powered sports betting platform, and it helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in a matter of seconds. Look, you can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. I do believe you will make cash. But me, I like to build my own model. And what's great about Rhythm, it'll adjust around what you like and what you value and deem important. Look, they got everything over there too. NBA, college hoops, NFL, college football, MLB. Rhythm has it all. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, we are back on the college baseball experience. Golden Spikes time.
Let Johnny kick this one off. This is his bread and butter.
Let's go.
Listen, Golden Spikes is an unbelievable market. This is the second year that you're able to bet it. So, like any other sport, when it comes to an MVP or how to handicap an award, there's different formulas. There's different strategy. You won't find this anywhere else. This is what helped me. This is what led me to bet Charlie Condon early last year and win on him. Is this formula? And it's sort of like how, in the NFL, an MVP is typically the quarterback of the 1 or 2 seed in the conference, has great stats, etc. I know there's a lot going back and forth with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson this year, but typically that's what it takes to win. There is the formula for college baseball's Golden Spikes. This is what I've discovered last year, and I am going to share it with you. Number one, he's got to be a player of a Power 5, now a Power 4 conference. Number two, stay away from pitcher-only guys. Pitcher-onlys don't win very rarely. Paul Skeens had an historic year a couple of years ago, didn't win. You got to have a guy that is going to be on a team that will make the field of 64. So think about it, like Joe Burrow had an unreal year. His team didn't make the playoffs. He didn't win MVP. You have to have a guy that is draft eligible. Draft eligibility is a big one. They very rarely give it to a guy that is a freshman or as an underclassman. So while we like a guy like Drew Burress or Danny Cuvée or Gavin Grahovac, as great of seasons as they'll probably have, chances of them winning are very slim because they are not draft eligible until next year, for instance. Last but not least, you have to have a guy that has a statistical profile that matches around a 400 batting average and 30-ish home runs. The average has typically been more important. If you look at all the past 5 winners that have been hitters, all of them have had an average that's 400 or better, except for Ivan Melendez a couple of years ago when he had an
broke
average
the NCAA home
in
run
the
record.
380s, but because he broke the BB Core home run record. So typically the goal is to get a guy that's going to be batting right around 400 and flirting with 30 home runs. There's exceptions like Jack Haglione had a 420 average with 33 homers and he wasn't even a finalist last year. That shit happens, but you're looking at a lot of different players and you're thinking to yourself, well, who do I bet? It's so loaded. I don't know where to start. That's how you start. And that significantly narrows down the field and it creates a bucket of those players. And when you pick a player from that bucket, that helps you. It gives you a lot better of a chance. So now we get to the candidates. I have 3 main guys that I've been talking up for the last few weeks. Number 1, Nolan Schubart, OK State. Nolan Schubart, I think, might have the most raw power in this draft. This kid is a fucking freak. He's an Adonis, 6'5", 235, hits piss missiles, plays in a launch pad in OK State in Stillwater. Even though he lost Carson Bench and Zach Earhart, there's a lot of talent in this OK State Cowboy lineup. So he's going to have a lot of protection. He's going to have talent on both sides of him. He batted 370 with 23 home runs last year. I've been imploring people to take Schubart when he was at 75-1 because that was a criminal misprice. Now he's the market's been corrected. He's 15-1. When he was 75-1, I said that's ridiculous. He should be 15-1. I still think there's value there. Schubart's one bugaboo was the strikeouts, but he improved on the strikeouts from freshman year to sophomore year. So assuming he can continue to do that, I think Schubart's going to be pushing 400 average, and he very well might be hitting 35 home runs this year. Schubart is an absolute superstar, so I would expect him to be somebody that contends for this award. Henry Ford is a guy I really like from UVA, draft eligible sophomore. He's at a disadvantage in the sense that all these guys that really contend for the award, their draft eligibility comes in their 3rd year. So they've had 2 years before to kind of fine-tune their skills and make that big jump. Ford was amazing, though, last season. Batted 336, 17 homers as a freshman in one of the top conferences in the country. He's going to be a stalwart. He's going to be the guy that's going to anchor one of the top lineups in the country in UVA. Tons of protection, hits the power and contact to all fields. I think Henry Ford can make a big jump this year. This is a kid who's gonna be a first rounder. Henry Ford also now 15-1. There is a 25-1 for him on Caesars though, so I would definitely look at Henry Ford. Max Bailu from Texas. The best you can get is 12-1. I think Bailu is a star for Texas. He's going to be the reason why the Longhorns are so competitive this year. Average was around 330 plus, 18 homers. Bailu was in his first year as a starter last year. So I think he's due for a big jump this season. The strikeouts are a little bit of a concern, but I feel like Jim Schlossnagle is going to help him iron it out. It's a wrinkle because Texas is moving from the Big 12 to the SEC, so more quality of competition in pitching. But I still think how good he is and the kind of coaching he has, he can make that big jump this year. He's going to probably push 30 home runs. I think he's going to be high 300s in average. One more guy that I think is worth a look, especially at the 50-1 price on Bet Rivers, is Devin Taylor. Devin Taylor, quite frankly, has a shot to go the highest out of all the guys I mentioned in the draft this summer. He's a potential top 5 pick off the board. He's gonna be the catalyst for Indiana. He had 20 home runs last year, batted in the 350s. This is a guy that can definitely be 400 average, 30 home runs this season or push 30 home runs. Also, he's playing in the Big Ten. The pitching talent isn't that great, so he should beat up on it. And he's 50-1, which is way too big of a number. Devin Taylor should be closer to 20-1. That's my portfolio. Sorry, one more thing. Build out the portfolio. And quite frankly, if you have that portfolio, you have a really good chance of cashing one. There's 3 finalists. Chances are Jace Lavallette's going to be a finalist, and they usually like to put the best pitcher in the country as the other finalists, even though they're not going to win.
Yeah.
But I feel like out of all the 4 guys I mentioned, I would be shocked if one of them is not a finalist this year for the Golden Spikes.
All right. I like the Devin Taylor shout. I'm going to tell you on that, 50-1. I think that's a good price for a stud there in a weaker conference, and he batted 350 with the 20 tanks, like you said. If he takes another step up in a draft year, that could be a huge narrative. And that's one reason why I'm like not too high on this. I respect Johnny's passion for this market, but the media can steer this thing any which way it wants. I thought Jack Caglione, being a starting pitcher and one of the best power hitters in the sport last year, should have been a finalist, and he wasn't. So I'm just like, I have no idea what if I have any interest in this market, but I'm going to throw out a few names. I like Devin Taylor. The other guy I want to mention is also in his draft year, like Johnny mentioned, also a very, very solid hitter. And last year he hit 319 with 14 pops. Ike Irish, another Southeastern Michigan kid. I'm going to rep the home state there because Johnny's got Nolan Schubert. I mean, his 75-1 is crazy freaking value. That's the best price you'll see out of any content creator out there. Great pick there. But I also like Brendan Summerhill of Arizona. I think this guy's got a really good chance to take a step up in the power department. And last year he hit for a really good average, 324. I'm so high on Arizona. I think they'll be a player nationally. I got to get a piece of 50-1 on Brendan Summerhill. And then even though Johnny said you might not want to target this kid because it's not his draft year, I think if Georgia Tech is in the mix to get in the NCAA tournament, Drew Burris is going to be a big, big reason why. 15-1 on that kid, who I think is probably a top 5 player in college baseball this season. I'll take it.
There we go, folks. I'm letting you guys talk on that end. I do not have Golden Spikes plays prepared for you.
Colby anti-Heisman.
I'm not big on the Heisman thing either, but I mean, I have hit before, but it's not.
Didn't you hit Jane Daniels?
I did, but that was really just. It's tough to project the way people are going to vote. But I do think Johnny's got a great point on you look for the seniors that are going to be going there, that marketability is half the battle, and if they know that this is something that could transform over to them being rookies next year in the MLB, I think there's value, and that makes a lot of sense. So, folks, I see the chat. Blue Hefner, great name. He says, when will you guys do the picks for Friday's slate? Well, tomorrow. All right. That
we gotta wait it out to see a lot of the pitching announcements. There have been some trickling in, but we have a good idea of a lot of the top teams who they're going to try it out there on Fridays. But we'll take the extra day to prep on that.
Well, yes, we will have that covered. We also have an East Carolina preview coming for you, of course. But folks, yeah, that's our show for tonight. Make sure you check out the College Baseball Experience wherever you get your podcast, and don't forget youtube.com/the College Baseball youtube.com/the College Experience. We will have you covered for the college baseball season, which is right around the corner. Give Johnny V a follow on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call this thing these days, at _Johnny VTV. And Noah Bieniek is on Twitter at NoahB77_. I am on Twitter at the Colby D. The College Baseball Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. So jump on over there and follow, like, subscribe, whatever the hell. Do all of those things. And yeah, looking forward to coming back tomorrow and talking more ball with you guys. Yeah. Till next time, folks. This is the College Baseball Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot.